Presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 and you use the promo code Welcome to Light Years. Tommy, my man, you know the draft's only a week away?
That doesn't feel possible, right? It feels like the Warriors should be preparing to go to Indiana for Game 6 of the NBA Finals and close this thing out. But nevertheless, hamstrings came into play. And yeah, we're only a week away. I mean, this is a somewhat commonplace for like Warriors fans where like this season would end and then you're right into the draft 3 or 4 days later. But it's always surprising how quickly it comes up.
Yeah, no. And it's like, I feel like we've purposely avoided talking about the draft, but now we're a week away. Now is the time. Got our special guest, got our guy Wright joining us in a little bit momentarily. He's been 2 for 2 with us on these second round predictions. He is the
Oracle,
the Mel Kiper of Warriors second round picks. I don't know what you want to call it like that. So I'm excited to get his take on it. Also, like, it does feel like the second round, and this is probably a product of NIL.
Yeah,
it's more college heavy. So if you're a college basketball guy, you're actually very valuable in helping us decipher who the Warriors should take at number 41.
No, that's a really good point. It's not only NIL, right? Like obviously the NIL stuff is keeping guys in college longer because they can actually start to make a living. But it's also the COVID hangover, essentially. A lot of these guys are 5th-year players, 6th-year players. So there's just been more of a glut of college players staying around for like a multitude of reasons. So there is more of a depth of talent right now in college basketball. So this could be a temporary thing, or I mean, we could see it continue into the future too with NIL. I mean, it's getting more and more. They're making it less and less of the Wild West and more official. Like there's a collective now that each school gets. It's $20 million. They get it for NIL money, comes directly from the school. So that could shift things a little bit. But I think the overall point is the second round picks might become more and more valuable, especially because you don't have to give these guys guaranteed contracts. You can kind of take a flyer on them, put them on a 2-way, throw them on your G League team, and you get to really develop them instead of having to like guarantee almost NBA minutes right away, as opposed to a first round pick.
The last point I'll make on that is college basketball has come a long way in the last, not even decade, half decade. So I feel like the college game is preparing players for the NBA game more so. It's kind of it's a blend of style, really. Like we've also seen it with Europe, which is a different thing, but like every level now is so focused on shooting and skill and versatility. The games aren't as different as they were in the past. I feel like 10 years ago, the NBA game and college basketball were completely different sports, which made it harder to scout and harder to find guys who can contribute. Now it feels like the skills that are emphasized that make you successful in college are more and more the skills that will at least make a guy a rotation player in the NBA. Obviously, you got to have a certain amount of size and athleticism to hang at a higher level, but the NBA of the 90s, of a different sport than what college basketball is, I feel like it's gone.
You know, gone are the days where North Carolina or Kansas or like these schools were dominating with like these, high-low passes and playing through the post. Tyler Hansbrough doesn't exist in college basketball anymore. For the most part, like that guy isn't the best player in college basketball. You could say John I. Broome is, who we might talk about today, was somewhat similar to like a Hansbrough, but there's less and less of those archetypes and more, there's more teams just playing spread pick and roll. There's more teams, like you said, focused on shooting, defending, playing with pace, defending in space. And it's never going to be perfect because the NBA is the most skilled league in the world. The shot clock's shorter, the 3-point line's longer. So it doesn't translate perfectly, but the skills are becoming more and more transferable, certainly than they were definitely 10 years ago. And even, like you said, 5 years ago.
And I feel like the Warriors are actually a really good example of that, because the idea they would find 2 roster playable guys in the 50s, I would have laughed at you if you said that was going to happen 5 to 10 years ago, much less 20 years ago. Now it feels very realistic. If you have a second round pick, you obviously always have to do the mental calculus of like, do I want to shoot on a raw prospect who may end up being better than this position in 3 years, or do I want the safer bet? But you're seeing more and more guys in the second round who at minimum, you're like, you know what, this guy's an NBA player. This guy can play for the next 5 to 10 years. Like Trayce Jackson-Davis is an NBA player. I don't know how big of a role he's going to have in the NBA, but he will be an NBA player next year. He will continue to be an NBA player for the next few years. Quentin Post, exact same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like those are guys who, unless something goes really wrong, they project to get a second contract. It might not be a big contract. It might be, you know, they're a third guy in a big rotation for the rest of their career, but they're probably going to stick around in the NBA. And I do think some of this as well is like, I think a lot of the teams who are like, if you're drafting in the lottery, for the most part, you're drafting somebody who isn't 20 years old yet. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a raw prospect per se, but you're drafting a guy who's younger, who has a chance to develop. Whereas the drafts of the 2000s and even the early 2010s, you saw a lot more 2, 3, 4-year college guys getting selected early. Those guys have fallen to the back half of the first round. They've fallen into the second round. So you can find more value with those picks than you used to be able to. Whereas, like, you know, there was times where like a couple top 5 picks, if you're thinking about the 2000s, those guys would have been in college for 3 or 4 years. And that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. It makes the number 41 pick, which is 10 to 15 picks higher than what they had the last 2 years, actually low-key intriguing. Like, if you look at the mock drafts, the players who are in the range that they're picking are all 3, 4, some are even 5-year college players. You know, Fitz will be thrilled. But they're all guys who look like potential NBA rotation pieces. Maybe not high-level ones. A couple of them maybe. But, you know, for the most part, they look like they could be rotation pieces. And the other interesting part about them picking at 41 is we see this all the time in the second round. For as much as a premium as there is on trying to find players in that range, there's a lot of teams who have way too many picks too. Yeah. And we see it every year. Teams are willing to sell a pick. You know, you give them some cash, they're willing to give you the 33, you move back to 41. You see that all the time. And I think from 41, there's a real possibility the Warriors could potentially move up to 35 if there's someone that they're like, you know what, we would have taken this guy at 20 if we had the 20th pick. We like him that much. So a lot of options here. I guess my question for you before we bring Ant on is, if I was to say to you, what do you want with a second round pick? You're Mike Dunleavy, not which player, but what are you looking for? What are you specifically looking for?
I think it's some positional size. An ability to make an open shot, not necessarily, you don't have to be, you know, I don't know, Sam Hauser in terms of a shooter. Like, you don't have to be, because we're thinking guys in that range, right? Like, Sam Hauser is an incredible shooter. I don't think you have to be that level of shooter. If you are, great. That's a value add, but you got to be able to stick an open shot if the defense leaves you. And then you got to be able to play both sides of the ball. You can't be a total zero on offense and you can't be a total zero on defense. I know that's like a very just like 30,000 foot view, very generic stuff, but it's a two-way guy who can like step in right away. And if you look at the guys that the Warriors have worked out so far, I want to say like 22 of the 30 have all been like 22 years old or older. And Mike even said in his kind of like exit press conference, he said, yeah, we're going to look for guys that are essentially plug and play. So I think that's the direction they're going. I would be shocked if they went somewhere different, but that's kind of the general theme of what I'd be looking for.
Yeah. I mean, so just abstractly, I think the Warriors need to add a few things this offseason, assuming there's not major roster change. They definitely need they need a bucket getter, period. Sure. Like, they do need someone who can get a bucket when steps off the floor, you know, like the Lou Williams type, the Patty Mills type, whatever. They need that. They also need shooting. Probably the number one thing they need is shooting the way you're referencing it, shooting that's not a total zero at other things, right? Because you can always find a 6'1" guy who can shoot, you know, but you're not going to throw him out there. Like, find me a 6'4" to 6'7" guy who can shoot, who can compete enough on defense to stay on the floor.
Right.
And then lastly, you know, just like positional size as much as you can get it. It would be great if they could get guys who are more 6'7" than 6'4". You know, it'd be great if they could find, you know, a 6'8", you know, if they get a little bigger at every position. But it's like, those are the things I'm looking for. And the one call out I have is, I just don't think they're going to be able to get all of them in free agency or even trades. You're going to need to find someone on the cheap, someone who can plug in a role, someone who can be, if you trade Moses Moody and Buddy Hield for a wing upgrade, someone who can be better than Guy Santos in theory, and just play 15 minutes a game as that rotation wing. Someone who it's not that you want to throw them out there because Steph's injured in the playoffs, because if he's injured in the playoffs, you're fucked no matter what.
Yeah.
But someone who can give you 15 minutes a game as Steph's backup as kind of a lead scorer for a second unit. And maybe on a night he's not going to play in January, can go out there and get 20 shots up. They're going to have to find one of these things, I think, in the second round. I don't know which one it will be, but they do need this second round player to, for lack of a better way to put it, give them what guys like Trace and Quentin Post did, which was solid rotation minutes for most of the regular season.
Right. And I think that last point is the best one to hammer home. The draft pick, like the guys that you're going to play in the playoffs, you're acquiring probably through free agency and or trade within the next couple of weeks. The guy that you draft, if he can provide playoff value, then you've hit a home run. You've gotten a steal, especially if you're finding this guy in the second round. But it's really about the regular season. We've talked about this kind of theme like over the NBA over the last couple of years. Depth is so important now to get through the regular season because of the pace the game is played at, because of the amount of ground you have to cover both offensively and defensively. You're going to have tired legs a lot of nights in the regular season, and you're going to need to rest your older core at times. So yeah, like you said, a guy who can just plug and play 10 to 15 minutes, maybe on a night where everybody's playing. And then, Steph's out, Jimmy's out, whoever's out, he can go out and play 25 minutes and he's not killing you. He's solid. He plays the right role. He knows what he's supposed to do out there. And he's honestly just like, he's got a good sense for the game. Like we've seen too many guys come through lately for the Warriors that just didn't have a sense of where to be. And it'd just be nice to obviously have a guy who can score, who can shoot, but also kind of just understands the game at a pretty basic level. And it's not hard teaching them the concepts.
Yeah. I mean, you're watching the NBA finals right now. Both these teams, the number one similarity I'd say is they went 10 deep all regular season.
Yeah.
And this guy's better than that, but this guy was a second round pick in the 50s. Aaron Wiggins, he's not playing a ton in the finals, but he was so big for the Thunder all year. And part of the reason guys like Shea and Jalen Williams have the legs to play 40 plus minutes in these finals games is because Aaron Wiggins was able to give them very good minutes all regular season. On the Pacer side, you could say the same thing with a guy like Ben Shepherd. Sorry, Lou Dort, wrong.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they go 8, 9, 10 deep, and someone like Ben Shepherd, who was a late first round draft pick, who really hasn't gotten the consistent opportunity in their rotation that he probably would have liked, but he has been able to give them a lot of minutes during the regular season. And he has been able to help them at times. And those are just two examples. But yeah, I mean, you can look at the Warriors in 2021, 2022. They didn't necessarily do it by young guys as much, but like the ability to go 10, 11 deep is really important in keeping Steph and Draymond, and throw Jimmy in there too, older guys healthy for when you get to the money end of the season.
I mean, shoot, Kuminga was playing a lot when Draymond was out. Like it was in and out of the rotation, but like he gave valuable minutes that regular season, and like, cause I think out of all of his time with the Warriors, that was the year where he bought into like the role that they wanted him to fulfill the most, like he was willing to play that Sean Marion or whatever you want to say type of role, because he was young and they were so good that he really couldn't ask for anything more than
the insult.
Yeah.
That changes nickname from the Matrix to the insult. Yeah, no, I mean, it is like, look, there's a lot of things going on in this offseason. The draft is probably not the most important thing that the Warriors will do, but it is important.
Yeah.
We're going to feel it if they get another Jacob Evans here. We're going to feel it if they get another Patrick Baldwin the second.
Why would you say that name? 16-game player, Jacob Evans, 16-game player, baby.
Well, Dre, there's work to be done with your scouting eye. There's work to be done. But I mean, it's like, I'm excited. I like the draft. Let's actually get into the draft, dude. I'm enough of this setting the table. Let's get into. We've been grinding tape. Nobody's been grinding more tape than you or me. I could say that, hand on my heart. I know for a fact not a single person in America, in North America. I will not speak to Asia or Europe. Maybe someone over there, but in general, no one has been grinding more tape than us.
Maybe
So,
Ryan Russillo. That's about it. He's the only.
No, I passed him up. I passed him up.
You've been logging his numbers?
I've been logging the numbers. And, the thing about grinding tape is, it keeps you kind of stationary at your desk. And that's really bad for your health. And so I'm trying to get myself, back into shape, trying to kickstart that fitness journey. And the number one thing you want to do when you kickstart fitness journey, let's go get a DEXA scan. So, our friends at Body Spec, best deal for a DEXA scan you can find. Pro sports teams use it. The Warriors use it, for example. And what makes Body Spec's DEXA scan deal so good is it's only $45 with the code LIGHTYEARS45. And with locations in San Francisco, both on the Embarcadero and in the Marina, they will come. They're easily accessible, and they will come to you even with their mobile vans. Could not be easier to use. So, guys, it's really simple. Go to buyspec.com. Use the code LIGHTYEARS45. Get a DEXA scan for like 1/5 the going rate. Like most people charge it $250, $300 for this. With our code, you can get it for only $45. Get that scan. Get your body fat percentage, lean muscle mass, visceral body fat. Figure out really where your body's at and start that fitness journey.
Light Years Podcast. We are brought to you by Via. If you have not tried Via yet, you are seriously missing out. Whether you need to unwind, refocus, or just pretend you have your life together, Via is here to enhance your everyday. And let's be honest, probably your night too. With products ranging from 0 to high cannabinoid levels, Via lets you fully customize your experience to fit your needs. And the best part, Via legally ships across the United States. Discreet, direct to your door, no medical card required, and backed by a worry-free guarantee. Guys, I've been swearing by their sleep gummies for months now. It feels like they're Zen Sleep CBD gummies. The best thing I've ever tried for sleep. I took one last night, got a full 9 hours, and I need it because I got a lot of stuff to do this weekend. I got, my niece's baptism. I got my buddy's daughter's birthday. So I'm going to be moving around a lot this weekend. So I need to get my sleep to be prepared for my weekend. And Via helps me do that. So if you're 21 plus, check out the link in our description and use code LIGHTYEARS to receive 15% off. Free shipping on orders over $100. And if you're new to Via, you get a gift free of choice. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show by selecting Light Years in the drop-down menu and tell them that we sent you. Enhance your everyday with Via.
Baptism, huh?
Yeah, dude, look, I'm an Italian Catholic, man. It is what it is, brother. It's the circle of life, right? It feels crazy to have, cousins that are my age having kids, and I'm just over here single with not even considering that type of stuff. But, my little niece she's the best. So I'm going to be happy to see everybody.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, now we got our special guest. The Oracle of Warriors second round picks, as you coined it. The man who told us the Warriors should draft Trayce Jackson-Davis, and then they drafted Trayce Jackson-Davis. It's Ant Wright. Ant, how you doing, man? You're on mute.
What's up? My bad.
You're good, man.
What's up, fellas? I'm really excited about this. This is one of my favorite times of the year, winding down the NBA season, going right into the NBA draft, right into NBA Summer League, Little League World Series in August. The best time of year, man.
Absolutely. So let's start here. All right. Yeah. So Tommy and I were kind of discussing what we think the Warriors should do with the number 41 overall pick. And they have multiple needs, but the most obvious roster needs for this team is shooting with size, or just shooting that can stay on the floor. Because Steve Kerr is not going to put a 6-foot shooter out there who can't guard a shadow. So shooting, positional size, and maybe a guard who can create their own shot. Those are the things that we think they absolutely need to add to the roster. Obviously, you got Steph Curry, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Draymond, you got some young guys. You took bigs the last 2 drafts, so probably not going with a big this draft. I just don't think you want a big man rotation of Trayce, Quentin Post, and a third rookie. Anyway, I put those parameters out there. Who do you think of in college or in the draft in general?
Who am I thinking of? I mean, there are a few guys that kind of fit that mold. I've got a couple guys that are I got like one guy who's not being talked about at all from anyone that I think has a good chance of turning some heads. But I am all about Brice Williams. I call him Ice Chilliams because he is just so cool, calm, and collected, and he is dangerous. Like he will hit you for a 30 ball. You could play off the ball on it. He could take over games, and being able to see him in a situation where he's not always on the ball has me kind of excited. Because I feel like he's had to carry the offensive load so much where I'm like, man, you give him space and nobody's helping. He's just what do they call them? They call them it's like a certain type of hooper that is, they call him like it's like an ethical hooper.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like
so it doesn't get to the free throw line. Perfect.
He can hoop, man. He can hit you at all three levels. He's, a good shooter. Good from the mid range. He'll post you. All of about 6'6" ish.
Yeah, with 6'5.5" at the combine.
All right. So on the NBA court, it's about 6'6", 6'6.5",
6'10" wingspan.
Yeah, 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. His hands are huge. I think out of anyone under 7 feet, he had the biggest hands.
That's correct.
Almost 11 inches. Like his hands are huge, just mitts. And I think on the defensive end, he didn't really have to show that much at Nebraska. I think he's going to be able to be a guy who could play right away. And a lot of that is going to be because of what he can do on that end as well. And I had him as my NBA draft comp. I try to have a lot of fun with it. He was like 6'5", 6'6" Sam Cassell.
Okay.
Where he can hit you in the mid-range, mid-post. He can score a lot of ways, or like an Allen Houston type. I'm not saying that's who he will be in terms of career, but in terms of prototype and type of player you're getting, that's Brice. Except he doesn't talk that stuff. He just plays the game, always level-headed, very, very level. He could have 30 or 3 points. You wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of a profile on Brice here. So 6 years in college, technically, had an injured year, had his COVID year, first 3 years at Charlotte, then transferred to Nebraska, played his last 2 years in Nebraska. His final year in Nebraska, really impressive stats, 20 points, 4 boards, 3 assists a game, also 1 steal a game, 47 from the field, 37 from 3, 88 from the free throw line. That's a high volume of 3-pointers. Like if you watch the tape, he's taking a lot of contested looks, a lot of stuff off the dribble, but he can work off ball as well. I do like the comps that you had. A couple guys that popped to mind for me. Some Karis LeVert in there for me. A little bit of TJ Warren, maybe. Just a guy who can kind of score at all 3 levels, has some length to him, just has some natural scoring craft that's pretty rare to find in the second round of a draft. You don't see a lot of guys fall this far. They might go late first round with this type of skill set, but because of the age and because he missed a year with injury, he's 24 years old, or his draft age will be 24. I don't know if he's 24 yet, but he's an older guy, so he's going to tend to slide in the draft, but he does profile as kind of that plug and play day one. Hopefully he can fill a role, as a 10 to 15 minute a game bench guy. But if Steph's out for a little bit or Jimmy's out for a little bit, maybe play 25 minutes and he could score 15 points in an NBA game, maybe right away.
I think he could play right away for sure. And I think that's what you get when if I go on to a Nets or a Wizards podcast, we're not talking about this guy because you don't really care about winning right now. And I think he is someone who could possibly be in that 9-man rotation for sure.
By the way, I decided to look it up. Guess a player whose combine measurements, just in terms of height, wingspan, and standing reach, are almost identical to Brice Williams.
You're talking historically?
It's Warriors related.
Andre?
Klay Thompson.
Klay. Okay.
So you're talking about similar physical build. I'm not saying they have a similar game or anything, but you're talking about a wing with legitimate plus size on the wing.
Absolutely.
One of the bigger contentions points for the Warriors is, obviously they went from the dynastic years where they were huge on the wings to it just always feels like they're playing 6'3", 6'4" guys instead of guys who are, a legit 6'6" with a legit near 7-foot wingspan. And that does make a big difference. It does make up for, if he isn't the fastest laterally. You could do a lot more defensively if you're longer and smart. My question with him, because I think he's really interesting, is how he adapts to playing off ball. Why are you so optimistic about him adapting to an off ball role? Because at Nebraska, he did have to do everything. Yeah. And that's always kind of like the question with these guys. Like, if you go from being the man, can you scale down to a scenario where your number might not be called for most of the game? You might be the fourth option on the floor. You got Steph Curry there. Guess who's the first option on the floor? Find Steph, right? You have Jimmy Butler. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to get the ball in the post. They're going to operate a lot of the offense to him. Are you comfortable playing off them? Just to be blunt about it, like someone like Kuminga has not been comfortable doing that. He's only been comfortable when the ball's in his hands. So why are you so optimistic someone like Brice can –
It's his demeanor and his approach to the game, right? And there was a reason why, I go back to the Cam Thomas draft. I'm telling people Cam Thomas is going to be better than Book Knight, and I believe that because I was like, Cam Thomas we don't know if he plays winning basketball yet, but we know that Cam Thomas is one of the better scorers in the league. I thought he would translate into that. Right. I don't think Cam Thomas would have been very good if he didn't get a lot of touches. Some guys can operate without getting a lot of touches. Like you said,
right.
A Clay. I'm not calling him Clay, but Clay can run around for 2 or 3 minutes without touching the ball. Some guys just need to feel the texture once every 2 possessions, or they're going to be just kind of out of their head, right? He's not like that. I was lower on Book Knight because I was like, look, not only can he not, I don't think he could score like this at the next level, but I believe he is someone who also needs those touches. And if he doesn't get that, it's going to be a red flag for me because I just don't think he's going to be able to operate at a high level. And he's not going to be as good or better than the alternative. Right? So I'm high on Brice because of his demeanor and because he is someone who doesn't let the game or his scoring affect any other part of his game, whether it's rebounding, playing defense, getting into passing lanes. He's always all about the team, whether a shot is going or not.
Sure, you're selling me. That's all I need to hear right there. And because you are right, like the Warriors want someone who can absolutely do something with the ball in their hands. Like, they can make a decision. The way their motion offense runs, if you can't make a decision, it's just hard for you to stay on the floor. They obviously need someone who can hit a shot, but the last part is the most important part of this. It's like, you're going to have to be comfortable with the fact that not everything is run for you. And are you still able to stay engaged in the game? And does it not affect your confidence if you go through extensive stretches where you're not the primary option?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when a lot gets lost in the sauce, when guys are higher on certain players, I'm sitting here like, if things go south, who is he? Yeah. Who is this guy? Because things are going to go south almost all the time. But is the rest of your game being affected? And that's what we kind of forget about. Like they're going to these NBA teams with like franchise players. Like you walk into an arena, their face is not plastered everywhere. It's 2 or 3 other guys.
Yep.
Right? It's like you got to be able to set the table for them. Eventually, that could be you. But for right now, we're trying to win right now. And if you can't do what needs to happen to make these guys' lives easier, we just can't play you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned some stuff about his defense. Obviously, he had to do a ton offensively, and that probably took most of his energy the last couple of years in Nebraska.
Yes.
But he did average 1.1 steals a game each of the last 2 seasons. So that tells me that he's active. He generally knows where to be. He's anticipating well, all that stuff. Do you think he can maybe scale like up a little bit defensively and not be a stopper, but do you think he's a guy that's going to generally like know where to be and be able to play in a team concept? Because like that is, I mean, every NBA coach wants that, but I feel like it's something that's especially important for Steve. Like he doesn't want to play guys who don't know where to be defensively. It's one of his pet peeves.
Yeah. So like, I think one of his first things is going to be gain some weight.
Okay.
Really get his mobility down. Because now being a basketball player is literally your job, right? So he's going to be able to work on these things, and he's going to be able to get the top, movement specialists. So he's not injured and sitting out, because if you're injured and sitting out, you're not getting that second contract with his age, right? So you got to make sure that he's going to be able to play. And I just think him being able to take a lot of that energy that he was expending on one end, he'll be able to shift that seamlessly. At the end of the day, though, it goes back to his demeanor and his maturity and being able to know that, and being able to no off-court problems. He's a very low-maintenance player. Like, you're not going to be worried about him going 101 miles per hour down the freeway. You're not worried about any of that stuff. That is just not him. And I believe he's going to bring a lot of professionalism, even if he's coming in as a first-year player.
Yeah, and
I want to ask.
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to ask one counter question here, because you're both selling me. I'm going to be honest. Like, you both are. So why is he falling all the way to the middle of the second round? I'm looking at mocks. Most mocks actually have him going closer to 50. But, it's at that point, it's like a crapshoot, 40, 50. Who cares, right? Why would he not go higher? Is it really just the age thing? And then the second follow-up to that is, why did he stay in college to this point then? If he's got that much
and medicals for sure. NIL has helped that a lot too. NIL has kept, even in this draft, a guy like Tahad Pettiford, he probably goes 3-4 years ago.
God, I love
right?
Tahad.
Yaxel Lendeborg, he probably goes last year if he was in the same spot. But schools and NIL and being able to get these guys $2, $3, some guys $4 million is changing a lot. And Nebraska is Nebraska, right? It's not like you're in Virginia where you got to share a whole bunch of other schools and do all that. Like, Nebraska and it's Creighton. That's it. Creighton doesn't even have a football school, right? So, like, they are the state. So there's a lot of people backing that and got him to stay there and got them to believe. Now, Nebraska didn't finish the year very well, but at the same time, he was able to right the ship, and they won the final tournament, the crown, and won some cheese as well.
It feels like we should really kind of throw that traditional thought process out the window because of NIL and the changes to college, where it's like 15 years ago, I'd be like a 6-year player, not drafting him, that type of thing. But now, to the points you're bringing up, like, there's so much financial incentive for guys to stay unless they're like a top 10 pick.
Yeah. Yaxel Lendeborg, in any other year, I mean, this is someone who was he's on draft boards. I've seen him in the top 15 on draft boards, legit top 15s. And he probably would have went somewhere between 25 and 30 in this draft, no lower than that. So this is a first-round pick who decided to come back to college because he was going to get a little bit more money, maybe get a little bit better, right? So NIL is changing the game big time, and I think it's going to help the NBA long-term, because now you're going to be getting more seasoned players who stayed maybe a year or two longer than they would have, a few years ago.
Yeah, and I think the last thing to maybe hit with Brice before we move on, and Ant touched on professionalism. His dad drafted to the NBA, played in the Italian league, was the MVP of the Italian league back in the 90s, early 2000s. So, like, you would expect a certain amount of professionalism from a guy whose dad who did this, he lived this life. So you would expect, typically, if we look at Steph, Clay, all the guys who have come through the Warrior system who had NBA dads, they tend to be a little bit more professional than your normal NBA prospect.
You know who else's dad played in Italy, also around 6'6"?
Kobe's.
Someone had to go there. It was too easy.
Warriors going to get a mix of Klay Thompson and Kobe Bryant at 41.
And Allen Houston.
Clip that. And Allen Houston with Sam Cassell's demeanor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a bunch of players I want to ask you on, but I want to ask this before we get there. All right, let's say Brice Williams is off the board.
Got it.
Is there any other names where you're like, this is the other guy I think the Warriors should select?
I got a couple. There is Tamar Bates, I think, is one for sure that you can look at. Started out at Indiana, didn't really get in a good rhythm there. Some games he played 20, 25 minutes. Sometimes he didn't, and his rhythm was just off. Substitution wise, he always played with like 2 or 3 bigs, so not a lot of spacing. Went to Mizzou, cleaned everything up. He became extremely efficient. Did well at the G League camp. Got the invite up to the combine. Went there. I mean, he measured out pretty well. What was he like 6? What was he, like 6'5"?
A similar size to Brice, 6'5",
6'5", 6'10" wingspan.
Yeah, very
somewhere
similar
around there. I mean, he's more like on the high end, like a Jordan Clarkson type. I don't see him as a 3-level guy in the NBA. I see him more as a 2-level guy. But like a microwave Malik Beasley type. He can be a capable defender. If you're into like old school guys, like a Eddie Jones, someone like that. Fairly. He's a good player. He's a good player. He is someone who I think a lot of people are lower on. I'm probably a little bit higher on Bates than most. I think he could figure it out. Lefty as well too.
Yeah, he's I've been looking at Vicini's draft board all day. He has him at 72, which I do feel like is a little bit low after watching some film on him. And as a Michigan guy, and you might appreciate this or you might not. The name that popped in mind when watching film, and I don't think he's this level of scorer, but was Morris Peterson. Like that,
Okay.
just got, like a similar lefty style game. He's not that fluid with the ball.
A smaller Mo Pete.
Yeah, smaller,
Big.
not quite as tall, not quite as fluid, but just kind of like the aesthetics of the game just reminded me of that a little bit. I got some Michigan people in my life. My whole mom's family's from Michigan, so I'm very familiar with Michigan State, all that stuff.
I feel that.
I got a couple things to call out on him as well because he was on my list of people I want to consider. One, the Warriors have had both of these guys in, so it's good you're bringing up names I know have been in the facility. I thought this was fun when he was asked which NBA players Tamar Bates would compare himself to. He listed Aaron Wiggins, who we talked about before he came on, Isaiah Joe, Matisse Thybulle, don't know about that one, Malik Beasley, and Devin Vassell. So size, shooting, kind of scoring wings. I mean, those are all like players obviously going to put comps that make themselves look good, but
for sure,
those all fit the exact type of players I would want to throw into the Warriors wing rotation.
For sure. Another one is can I go to the one that like nobody's talking about? Can I go to that one?
Sure.
Do it.
Yeah.
Allow us.
Well, first, if you're gonna go for a big, it's kind of weird that I read that article that you sent me, Sam. Cool. And I saw a big on there. I think it was the App State big. And I'm like,
CJ Huntley.
He can kind of shoot a little bit. Okay, I got that. I'm like, they wouldn't mind like a bigger rim runner who could rim protect at a high level. Because I don't think you should have too many finesse bigs, in my opinion. Yep. Like you don't want to, you know what I mean? You don't want to get into that. Yannick Conan Niederhauser from Penn State. 7 foot, light-skinned dude. He's like a little bit bigger to me. Jackson Hayes. A crazy vertical, crazy potential. He was at Northern Illinois putting up like 5 or 6 points. He didn't really play that much. Went to Penn State. I turned on an exhibition. I turned it on within like 5 minutes. I'm like, yo, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? By November, I was like, I think he is the best rim runner in the league. And I'm like, nobody even knows who this dude is. Good shot blocker, underrated offensive skill. That's if you want to go big. But very good potential there. But the guy that nobody's really talking about is a guard out of Tennessee, Jemai Mayshak.
Okay.
Jemai Mayshak, about 6'3", 6'4", man, 6'8" wingspan. He is a dog. He's like, like Cujo. Remember that demon dog, Cujo?
Yep.
He's like Cujo defensively, and I think he's going to surprise some teams with this offense because Tennessee does play an archaic style, and they didn't really revolve it around him. It was pretty much get the ball to Chaz Lanier and get out the way type of deal. But, he is someone who I know for a fact has been tearing up in workouts.
Okay.
And I think he is someone who is going to be able to guard primary, secondary offensive guys right away. Think of like a bigger Javon Carter or like a Lou Dort.
Sure.
He falls right into that mold.
We need a new GP2. That's for sure.
We do.
Well, I was going to say I didn't want to because I didn't know that if he was there still or not. But yes.
He is.
I think he'll be back next year.
Vetmin.
He's also just like he's so good when he's physically right for what he brings to the team, but like he misses every other. I don't know. He's just older at this point. So like, I know I didn't mention it as a need on the team, but like, a true point of attack menace would obviously help as well. Too,
yeah, that's him. He's that guy who you sub in the game for like 4 or 5 minutes. Like, yo, look, I need you to hound this guy 94 feet, and he'll do whatever it takes. I have a video coming out on him in the next couple days, a short one, like 40, 50 seconds, just like going over like the type of guy he is. And I think one line I have in there is, he would rather eat dirt than allow you to dribble. Like he's not. It's like, yo, like he is going to make you turn multiple times. It's going to make you work. But yeah, Jemai Meshack, I love him. How do y'all feel about Sion James? I know, Sam, we've talked online about him a little bit.
I knew we were going to get there.
Why don't we get there on the other side of paying a couple bills here real quick?
Paying a bill.
Yeah, a little bit of a teaser for you guys. I bet our guy Mike Dunleavy's pretty stressed right now. Not only is the draft stressful, your reputation as a GM is based upon player acquisition moves more than anything. But on top of it, he's got a very ardent and aggressive owner who likens to think of himself as a scout. So he's probably getting texts at 4 a.m, being like, "Hey, check out this guy's tape. Check this out. Come on, let's get after it." So stress hits everyone. Doesn't matter how calm or cool or collected you are. And I would bet Mike, like Tommy and myself, sometimes he just needs a Lucy to relax a little bit, to get a little bit away from work. Lucy Breakers are nicotine pouches with extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken up and released for extended flavor and hydration. 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Guys, level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/lightyears and use the promo code lightyears to get 20% off your first order. That's lucy.co. Use promo code lightyears.
Lightyears podcast. We are brought to you by PXG. The time has come to get some new golf clubs, and that means one thing: heading over to my local PXG store for a fitting. They make the best golf clubs, period. So I went to get my fitting done, I don't know, a couple months ago. Got synced up with my girl Megan over there. Everybody that works at PXG is a PGA professional, so they really know what they're doing. They spend like an hour and a half with you. They find the perfect clubs for you, the perfect length, perfect grips, exactly what type of clubs they want you to hit, and they just spend a lot of time with you, and they teach you some things about the swing, and they teach you some things about golf that are just really valuable if you're trying to improve your golf game. PXG fitters are highly trained, as I said, incredibly experienced, and have a deep understanding of how to optimize your clubs to get the most out of your swing. So schedule a fitting today. And for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/lightyears. That is pxg.com/lightyears. Save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/lightyears. Restrictions apply. See details.
All right, let's get to Sion here. Not going to lie. So it's hard for me not to want the Warriors to take Sion James at number 41 because he checks so many boxes. I actually think my takeaway of diving into the potential options between, let's call it 35 and 50, is there's like multiple players I would like the Warriors to add to their roster. And if they could buy a second pick, I would be in favor of it, because with the new CBA, finding a couple dudes who can play for cheap is a super big advantage. I don't know, man. He profiles so much as a quintessential 3-and-D role player that you see every team roll out in spades in the playoffs. The Lou Dorts, I mean, GP2 could never really shoot the ball with consistency. PJ Tucker, like I can name these guys up and down the list. KCP, DeAnthony Melton, like the league is essentially the good teams are, you got your 1 to 2 star players, and then you have a bunch of dudes like this who just defend and can stick an open shot. So tell me why, or Sion James is not that guy. Or is that guy?
Hey, listen, this is another guy who, like, I would not bring you anyone who I don't like. I'm going to tell you, okay? I'm not going to do that to you. Every person that I bring up, I believe in. And, Sion James is someone else who I think is going to perform better than where the consensus has them. He's about 6'5". He's built like a Lego. 6'5", 220, built like a Lego, like DK Metcalf. He could play in the league right now. Whether it's
he's built like Lou Dort. He's built like Lou Dort. He really is. Like very similar build.
Already. And you're talking about a bigger defender who I believe can guard through those very good 6'8", 6'9" guys because of his strength. I think he could be that person. Also really good in the catch and shoot, but he's not someone who you're going to kind of give the ball to and be a secondary, tertiary guy. No. He is going to be like, hey, you're probably going to stay in the corner for a bit, probably going to cut, right? Maybe a lot of ball screen action with him as the screener to maybe get a bad switch or a situation where like a bigger player is guarding him. Now he can go downhill. But, he is someone who, once again, the main premise for the Warriors, can they play in the NBA tomorrow? I think he can. He is someone else who I believe can play right away on an NBA court day one. And a lot of that is because of his physical attributes. But once again, mentality, the fact that you're not getting – I just love guys who exemplify being an NBA player without having to drop 25.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get him, but that's why I love Cooper Flagg so much, is because he checks so many boxes defensively, getting in the passing lanes, rebounding. He just got the it factor, right?
Passing.
Yeah, good passer, good feel for the game, and he's still.
Oh no! Do we lose you?
Mike got him, or Mike might have got unplugged.
Can you hear me?
We're back.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, it did get unplugged a bit. Sorry, but like Cooper Flagg is kind of that guy as well. But Sion James, he is someone who just can. There's so many scorers in the league. There's so many. You don't need a whole bunch of scorers. Like, just like if you have a Lambo, you don't need a Lambo with 3 steering wheels. You don't need a Lambo with like 9 seats. Like look, like everybody has a role. Everybody has a job.
I do. No, I hear what you're saying. That's actually, I mean, that's the fundamental crux of the Warriors 2 timeline issue. They drafted a bunch of young guys who had no clue how to play a supporting role, and then doubled down with probably didn't have the interest in doing it either. I don't think James Wiseman really wanted to. I don't think Jonathan Kuminga, actually, I know Jonathan Kuminga does not want to, so he tells you that all the time. Right. So it is kind of fun to explore these guys where they do matter. They do matter. Every team who wins a title has multiple Lou Dort types, guys who are stars in their role. The Warriors, when they won titles, had multiple.
Look at Caruso right now, man.
Caruso's the best in the league.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. But I think, I mean, really, Lou Dort's the easy comparison, but just in terms of build and stuff and potential role, I don't think he's quite ever going to be like a defensive player of the year type. Like, I don't know if he's that quick laterally. He's a little bit stiff-hipped, but he's a bulldog defensively. Like, he will be able to defend at an NBA level on day one. The swing skill is the shot. It's a little bit, he's just a bigger guy. It's a little bit stiff. It's a little bit robotic, but he does knock down open ones. I want to say he made low volume, but he made 47% of his catch and shoot threes this year. And he's one of the things that I liked about him most, outside of the defense, like he's a switchable defender, not a super long wingspan, but his strength allows him to kind of uproot big men if he has to. He can really pressure the ball and get under guys' skin, and just kind of get in their space, take their airspace away. But one thing that I really did like about him, two things actually, watching the film offensively, really smart off-ball cutter. Good at was good at setting back screens, slipping out of them. Like if he's setting a back screen for Knipple, he slips out of it and he gets a dunk. He's cutting on the backside if there's a guy on the short roll. And then he's a pretty solid passer. He's not gonna make reads that wow you, but he knows where the ball is supposed to go. He keeps kind of the chain moving. And look, that's what the Warriors are looking for with this pick. It's not going to be that high upside swing. It's going to be a guy that can come in and fit. He doesn't have the ceiling of a Brice Williams. This guy's never going to score 15 points a game in the NBA. But if he can stick open threes, everything else will come together because he does so many other things well.
Yeah.
I want to do a little kind of rapid fire on some other names. And these names are names that I've seen mocked to the Warriors over the last couple months. So Chaz Lanier, we mentioned him earlier. Thoughts? Okay, I get it. Okay,
I'm not. No, I'm not as high on Chaz. Nothing to do with him personally, but I tend to be a little bit lower on guys who he can shoot it.
Yeah,
I don't know what else he does well. That is going to translate. And that always gives me pause. And
right.
That always gives me pause. And people on the timeline know this. I was just arguing with people on the NBA draft chat about 2 hours ago in a draft space. That's why I'm lower on Con Knipple than a lot of the consensus is because I think Con could be going to be a legit shooter. I just don't know what else he's going to do. And that's what
You're not convinced that the shot creation or the other aspects of the game.
Yeah, but I think shooting wise, I think he's probably the best shooter in this draft.
Agreed.
But I don't know it's killing me because I don't know what else he's going to do. And I don't know what his position is going to be and what position he's going to guard. That's how I kind of feel with Chaz. And Chaz is a much lower prospect for me. So I can a double pause. And how tall is Chaz? 6'3"?
6'3.5". Yeah, I think 6'3.5" at the combine, something like that.
Okay.
So not the biggest guy either.
Okay. Yeah, not the biggest guy. He's not the most athletic. Does his scoring translate all the way if he's not able to just shoot jump shots?
I'm out.
It just feels like a guy. I mean, above all, I just don't think he's a guy that Kerr would play. There's too many other 6'3", 6'4" guys on the roster already that are going to get, they're going to
do more things.
They're going to be in the pecking order before him. Obviously, Steph is Steph, but Pod's going to be ahead in the pecking order. That's already 50 minutes at the guard position minimum. So
do you guys feel similarly about someone like Koby Brea?
He's a hell of a worker, though. He is a hell of a worker. I would say that Chaz Lanier is very hard to bet on because of how hard he works. Because I know, just from talking to folks, one of the hardest workers you'll see. That is a really, really underappreciated trait to have is his focus and his work ethic. So it sucks to kind of be on that side, rooting for him, but I don't think he will be good for the Warriors. I just don't think he'll be good for them. That you just said who? Koby Brea?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm high on Koby.
He's got more size than Chad. He's got more size.
So is it really just that? Yeah, because to me, it's a similar scouting report. The
Almost.
guy can shoot the hell out of the ball, but I'm not convinced he does anything else in the NBA.
I just think he has his size. I think his shooting will translate. I also think he is someone who is low maintenance. I don't think Chaz is low maintenance. I think Chaz needs touches. I don't think Koby does.
Okay.
I think
so we're getting back to the initial point, how's it going to go when you're the fourth or fifth option on the floor and you don't touch the ball for a while?
Yes, where are you in that? And I think Koby going from where he was to what he did at Kentucky, the way they really move the ball, and sometimes he didn't touch the ball every single time. I mean, and he could and he was shooting off PNR. Teams were going drop on him. I don't know why. Illinois, what are you doing? But I mean, mid-range, from three. He's reading, just like IQ wise. I just think his jumper is going to keep him in the league for 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I could see that. I do worry about the size a little. I mean, he is bigger than Chaz. He's, I think, 6'5", 6'6", but not a very long wingspan, 6'5.5" wingspan from what I saw. So it's a limiting factor defensively. But yeah, I do generally agree with the point that, like, not necessarily low maintenance off the floor, but like he's a low maintenance on floor player where like the offense doesn't need the ball in his hands. Like he's totally cool spotting up, just kind of moving around the perimeter. And when he's open, you have faith that he's going to stick the jump shot. So like, he definitely wouldn't be my first, like he wouldn't be the guy I gravitate towards at this pick. But like, if that's what they end up with, another guy who can come off the bench and shoot the ball for 10 minutes, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Negative wingspan, by the way. So he's about 6'6", 6'7",
Perfect.
6'5", 6'6". Well, 6'5" and a quarter wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
I love those guys.
Built like Kirby.
What about Tyrese Proctor? He's a name that there's the superficial impression that he's a Steve Kerr type of player.
Yeah,
obviously very skilled.
Call him what?
I call him mid-Reese. I am no.
All right, so you're out. You're not in.
He shoots the hell out of the ball, man. He shoots the hell out of the ball, and he has
but I don't know. It's like take Halliburton and then take away everything that Halliburton does well.
Man.
And just go from like his sliders on Halliburton's like 90, 95. He's like 62% of Halliburton.
Okay. You know, I mean, I feel like I see a little bit more like, I don't know, maybe off ball, like not that Halliburton can't be good off ball, but the shot's so funky that it's hard for him to work consistently off ball actions.
Yeah.
I do see a little bit more off ball versatility for Proctor, where like I think he's a guy that can come up like down screens, pin downs, flare screens, and like hit jump shots. And he's a pretty solid decision maker in my opinion. He's not like actively manipulating coverages necessarily with the ball in his hands, but like he can hit the roll man on a pocket pass or a little dump over the top. He can like get into the paint and make the next pass. And I don't think he's like a guy that needs the ball in his hands. That's how he played this year. You know, he didn't have the ball in his hands a ton. He got it some, but it's not like he was out there handling the ball a lot.
Yeah. I think, you know, Khan and Coop took a lot of pressure off of his shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, 3-4 years ago, you know, people were, you know, talking to me about Chet Holmgren and like, no, it's like, no, he's not going to be able to do this and do that and da. It's like, he's too skinny. He's too this. And I told them, I was like, look, this dude during COVID flew around the country and played the best competition. He is not afraid of the smoke. Mm-hmm. Proctor is like opposite. Oh. Like it's like that's how I feel. I feel opposite. I feel a lot of times. I think this past year, Khan and Coop allowed him to kind of play his game, but I saw previously where it could have been youth, but I saw previously where
if the situation wasn't perfectly set up for him, he kind of checks out.
Little wide-eyed. It's like that feeling when like it's that feeling when you like turn the corner and you see a pit bull and you know it's not chained. That's how I feel that he felt a lot until Coop and Khan showed up.
You know, and I think that's actually a really good point to hit because out of all the things I've taken from these NBA playoffs, obviously like defensive versatility, shooting, perimeter speed, like there's been all these key takeaways that I've had. I think like maybe the number one thing, there's no bitches on the floor in the NBA finals. Everybody is a fucking dog. So like if you're telling me that they're not that, then I'm immediately out. So all right, if that's how you feel about Proctor, you know better than I do. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. I've had to argue with my Duke boys for a minute. Like even like coming into Duke, they're like, he about to be one and done. I was like, he's not built like that. Like he's not. Like, yeah, he is. Watch. Come back here in 7 months. Bro, we're in the beginning of his junior year, and I pop in. I'm like, yo, what's good? Like, oh, man, he's still here? You know? He not with like the Blazers or somebody? What's going on? No, but like, look, rooting for the kid for sure. Hope he does well. Hope he's able to overcome a lot of things, and hope it works out for him, because those dudes from like, he's from like New Zealand, right, or something like that.
Australia.
Plays Australia.
Yeah. So like those dudes, they are usually mentally tougher and tough, and you just kind of want him to kind of, hey, look, snap out of it, get to it. But he is someone who I felt was a lot of just way too wide-eyed for me. I saw too many of those instances.
It's a good way to put it, though. I mean, that kind of makes me check, because like my impression of him is purely based off of what I saw of this year's Duke team, and obviously Cooper Flagg was the star of the show, and Cocknipple is really good too. But it's good context to consider that,
Mm-hmm.
Ant, appreciate you, man. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, man. Just Ant Wright on all the socials, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, IG, YouTube, just all there. So just holler at me. I'm not gonna say like I'm always right. I'm wrong about some things. It happens. One person who I got wrong was Halliburton, and he changed the way that I evaluated prospects. I didn't think that his shot would translate. I loved everything else, but after that, I got better from that. And hopefully someone proves me wrong in this draft, so I'm better for 2026. Shout out Darren Peterson. But
man, he is fun. He is fun.
Oh man, I got a breakdown of him from when he was in the 8th grade. I was like, yo, this guy is legit, out of Ohio. You guys got to peep this dude. This dude is nuts. He's insane.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But yeah, man, 2026 is gonna be fun.
Yep.
And you know what? The Warriors fans just know that enjoy this. You got to enjoy this. You have to enjoy this 10, 11, 12-year run that you guys have been on, because it's going to get ugly soon. It's going to get real ugly soon.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
It's going to get ugly soon, but it's okay.
Good.
But it's okay. There's some really good talent coming up, and you just got to trust the front office. They've been able to put this together. You got to trust that they can do it again. So,
and before we get out of here, if you today, June 19th, if they had to pick, if you're predicting their draft pick right now, who would you say the Warriors go with at 41 if they stay there?
If I'm predicting it, I would go Brice Williams, but I would not be shocked if they go with Sion.
Yeah, those are the two for me.
I would not be shocked if they go with Sion.
Buy a second pick and get them both. Come on, Joey.
I like Sion too. I like Sion. I like Brice. Everybody who I talked about very, very positively. I think are gonna do much better than where they fall on the consensus for sure. At some point, like, you have your tools, but at some point, that's not going to save you when you're on the basketball court. Like, are you going to be able to, mentally get through what you're going through and like do things the right way? And are you growing? Are you growing off the court? And there are going to be some prospects here who we're very high on, who we didn't know some stuff about. We didn't know AJ Griffin was going to do what he did. Right? We didn't know that, Markelle Fultz, whatever happened with him, whatever happened with my boy, Iowa State, who's afraid of planes.
Royce White.
Yeah, like Royce White. And so like it's like we don't know about this stuff, right? And we can only do as much as information we're given and the film that we have, and then from there, just kind of see how your takes go. You take your wins, you take your losses, you get better. At the end of the day, you just want to get better. But I am still 5-0 or 6-0 on guys who I'm completely against when it comes to the consensus, and we'll see.
You're an elite hater.
I am an elite hater, but I do wish the best for all those guys still, though.
Appreciate you, man, as always. Hopefully you get to gloat about being right about the Warriors for a third year in a row.
We'll see. We'll see. End of the day, like I want Warriors to do well. I would love Steph to just be able to doesn't have to finish the year out with like championships and all that, but just finish out strong and finish out on the right way. Just finish out the right way and have fun.
Give him a chance. Give him a chance to win a championship. That's all we can ask for.
And be healthy. Are teams kicking themselves looking at the finals right now?
They should be.
Yeah.
Like, dang, is this like?
I think we're in an era where like the Thunder are fucking good, but they haven't reached the like unbeatable, all-time pantheon for me. And I think we're in the entire like CBA making it hard to stack teams. I think we're in an era where there's always going to be like 5 or 6 teams at the end of the year who are kicking themselves because none of these teams are like the 90s Bulls. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're all very good, don't get me wrong, but like there's more parity than like dominance or dynastic play going on right now in the NBA.
I feel that. Rafael Barlow had a really good tweet a couple of days ago about that, how like the CBA and like the apron and all that are going to limit teams from like being that like dynasty. And I just think I love that because one, I do love parity, but at the same time, I think it's going to put more pressure on front offices. Like, no. You can't just go buy the best players and call it a day. Like you really need to go out there and get these hidden gems, find this hidden value, find value on other teams that teams have devalued. Right, and get them for cheap. Like you gotta really, you really got to be on your stuff now.
Aaron Wiggins, 50th something overall or 55th overall pick.
I'm also shocked.
Undrafted. I mean, obviously Chet was the number 2 overall. Yeah, obviously Chet was the number 2 overall pick, but their team is built of a lot of guys who are not top prospects as well. So, yeah, I mean, it all matters.
The Pacers kind of fall in that mold too, where Boston didn't want Naismith. Kings didn't want Halliburton.
Man.
It's like Nemhard falls,
Knicks
so like
discarded Obi, you keep going down the list. Like they're finding players, to your point, that are not just like, it's not like LeBron or Wembanyama coming out of the draft type of thing. Like you got to actually find guys.
Yep. I love it.
Appreciate you, man.
NBA needs to find a way they need to find a way to market to that and stop hurting themselves.
We can do a whole second podcast on that.
Yeah, sorry guys. I apologize. But bro. I could talk.
Thanks for coming on, Ant.
Hey.